smoking, charred mess of vehicles piled up on I-70 on the west side of town this afternoon. Semi-trucks, cars, trucks piled up and burning up, stopping I-70 at Colorado Mills Boulevard. Report from West Metro firefighters is that several people were injured. I-70 shut down in both directions in that area. Obviously, just stay clear. Did you see that smoke plume? It was a monster, a black tower over the west side of town that rose up just before 5 o'clock this afternoon when those semi-trucks were one by one. The cars that had collected perhaps in that first spilled load began to burn as well. That was quite the tower of smoke and a number of explosions, as you saw fuel tanks go earlier on today. But that is the current situation. Here's that earlier video for you as things were really going. Now, we know that obviously first step is to rescue anybody who might have still been in those vehicles when the fire erupted. And at this point, West Metro just saying a few injuries is what we are hearing. One thing that we are waiting to learn is how long between the crash, the pileup, and when the fire started. Because when we got our first glimpse of it from Sky 9, there was just one semi going, and then it spread back through the pile. We have Pamela Rollison from CDOT on the phone with us to talk about the situation that they're looking at. And Pamela, what are we thinking in terms of a potential closure of that interstate through the metro area?
Right now, we do have crews that are being dispatched to the scene, and what their role will be after firefighters get this under control is that we will clear the accident scene. But our major priority is always safety, so we want to make sure that the bridge structure is in safe condition before we reopen that area of I-70 in the bridge to traffic. So we want to see if any damage was done from the fire, and so that's what we will be focused on, as well as cleanup efforts.
Now, I recall that fire that we had back on I-25 down near the tech center a couple of years ago, and one of the issues that you had was just the logistical effort of getting in enough wreckers and enough flatbeds and everything else to get all of those vehicles out there. I recall the CDOT folks just kind of staging for hours, waiting for their chance to get in there. Do you know when you're going to be able to go in and make those assessments?
Well, we are doing that right now. From what we can see at this point, it looks like that there wasn't a major chemical source for the fire. With the 25 tanker fire, you're talking about oil, you're talking about a liquid-based, sustainable type of event, which caused a long-lasting fire, and that caused damage on I-25. We are not anticipating that with this situation, but we're going to make absolutely sure everything is okay before we reopen anything. But that could be a while. There's a lot of work to be done.
Sure. Tamara, do you have any insight into how this got started? Just from a layperson's perspective, we saw that first semi with the spilled load, and you saw a number of cars that were kind of collected and partially buried in the load. Do we know how the initial crash happened?
I wouldn't know that. I would say that your best source for that would be the Colorado State Patrol. I think that they would have the best sense of exactly what happened as they pull this crash apart, if you will, to figure out exactly what caused it.
All right, Tamara Rollison from CDOT, we appreciate your time and your expertise. So again, this is at I-70 right at Colorado Mills Boulevard. Fortunately, the smoke plume moved north, so it moved away from the mall. If you're familiar with that area, the smoke plume moved up towards NREL the National Renewable Energy Lab, and the Martin Marietta headquarters. They're on the north side, and then up into some neighborhoods there. It did not go south towards the mall. There, that gives you a good look there. North is on the right, south is on the left. Our Jordan Chavez is there talking to a lot of the folks who were in the area when this happened, and a number of folks, Jordan, have described hearing a boom, a loud explosion at one point.
That's exactly what the people standing next to me talked to, and I want you to hear from them because it's pretty accurate from what we're hearing from many groups we have heard. So this is Christy Dixon and her husband Brian, and just like a lot of people, they're going throughout their day doing their normal things. Christy was actually on her way home, and Christy, something that Kyle was talking to me about is that loud boom that a lot of people are describing.
Yes, yeah. I was on the trying to get to the off-ramp, and just all you hear is this big huge boom, and then the big black smoke just kind of went off all over, and then you started hearing this popping noise and things blowing up is what you started hearing.
What went through your mind of what potentially was going on?
Scary. I can't tell you what went through my mind. It was just really, really scary that I don't know what happened. It was really scary.
Were you able to look around and see kind of the reaction from the other drivers on the road?
Everybody was just trying to get off the road, and then there was people that were up on the overpass at Denver West that were getting out of their cars, and then somebody come and told them to get back in their cars, and then I could see people on the opposite side of the I-70 that were getting out of their cars, and it was just really scary. Nobody really knew what was going on, so.
Scary for your husband as well. I know you weren't in the area, but you were the one that got the call from Christy. What was that like?
Yeah, it was very scary. The first few words is something terrible just happened in front of me. And of course, everything goes through your mind. And so it took me a minute to get her calmed down enough to just find out she wasn't involved, she was okay. And so I relaxed at that point, but it was very tense for a few minutes.
I want to ask you about something that you had talked to me about a little bit earlier, which was what you saw when you first pulled up.
Right, because I was coming across the bridge, and of course it was closed, so as you turned to go west on I-70, you could see there was 5 or 6 cars, and they were all just one giant ball of flames.
And when you saw that, what'd you feel?
It was chaos. I mean, you start thinking, I wonder if how many people died. And you start praying for the people that were involved that are, alive and families, and it's going to be a really bad situation.
And that's actually kind of what we're hearing from a lot of people right now. They're waiting around. They want to make sure everyone out here is okay.
Right. You just want to make sure everybody's okay. If they need anything, is everybody okay? There's still a lot of ambulances around and a lot of fire trucks still here, so just making sure everybody's okay. Yeah,
still definitely a very big scene, Kyle, out here. We are going to try to talk to a lot more people, but so far, very similar stories to what we're hearing from Christy and Brian.
Jordan Chavez, thank you very much. Express our thanks to Christy and Brian as well. We're going to hear from Lakewood Police live in just a few minutes, but first want to talk with a woman named Brianna who was in an office building nearby, I believe. Brianna, can you kind of tell us where you were at the time that you first realized something was going on?
Yeah, I was leaving work. So I work at New West Physicians. We're actually right on the corner. I can see the ramp to get onto I-70 from my work. And I was just packing up my things, just getting ready to leave, and the whole building just shook, and you could hear like this huge boom. And we didn't really know what it was. I'd assume it was an explosion just because of the boom. And we then were told to evacuate, and everybody had to get out. And I was walking to my car, and I had no idea what was going on, and I could just see all of these people running up the hill. Cars were trying to get off of the road, trying to get ambulances to come through, fire trucks, everything. And I turned the corner, and I could see just like this huge black wall of smoke heading right towards my work, and I had no idea what it was. So I was just standing there watching to see what it was, and you could just keep hearing all of these little explosions. And we actually saw this huge fireball just come up into the sky, and you were shaking. You had no words. It was scary.
Wow. It sounds to me like what you heard then was perhaps the fuel going up on the first semi and not the crash itself. Because, you know, a car crash sounds different than a boom, but you heard that boom, and by the time you laid eyes on it, the smoke was already in the air. Those people coming up the hill, it sounds like those might have been some drivers, some folks trying to get off of the interstate. And boy, what a scary situation that was. Brianne McGrath, thank you for your time. Glad that you and the folks that you work with are safe there. We are about to hear from Lakewood Police on this pileup and fire at I-70 and Colorado Mills Boulevard in the Lakewood area this afternoon. It has closed I-70 in both directions. There's no reason to even be over on that side of town. Just go 6th. And they're still sorting out the number of vehicles involved. We were counting cars when we got our first look at this from Sky 9. There was the initial semi, the one that appears to have dumped its load there. There were at least 4 what look like passenger vehicles in that debris, and then more semis behind.
I think
Let's
we all
listen
have
to
my
what
name
Lakewood
for
Police have to say.
About 4:50 this afternoon, we got several calls of a motor vehicle crash up on I-70 going eastbound. In this section here, it's kind of a, you know, I-70, how we all know how it winds through, but it is through going eastbound. A semi, we're still looking at what took place with the semi that kind of started. Brake failure, we're looking at some mechanical issues, and what had happened is the vehicle came down, ended up colliding with slower traffic, causing a very big chain reaction crash that has that also ignited and started a fire. At this point, there are several injuries. We do have at least 1 confirmed fatality, but given that the scene is very active still, as we've seen here, we can't say what the numbers are exactly, just given the unsafe part of the scene right now. So once that gets all taken care of, then we'll certainly you know, get some more accurate numbers and notifications and stuff like that. As of right now, we are looking at 12 cars and 3 semis that are involved. That number may change, but that's the preliminary from our folks on the scene, and with the help of State Patrol and the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department. Those are the numbers that we're getting now.
Do we know if the fatality was the truck driver or another passenger vehicle?
At that point, we don't know quite yet who the fatality is. I know there were several people taken to hospitals, and given our distances and dealing with that, we're still working on identifying who was where and when all this took place.
And again, what was inside that truck? It seemed like it served as almost a combustible object.
That I don't know. I've heard from conversation, I've heard wood, that it was loaded with wood, but I don't know that for sure.
Do we know the time that passed between the semis coming is it coming down a hill? Is that right?
Yeah, if he's going eastbound, as we can see behind me, that direction eastbound, where all the police cars and the fire trucks are all in the eastbound lanes.
Okay.
And so yes, eastbound is what started.
Okay, so trucks coming eastbound, crashes into slower traffic.
Correct.
And then more cars are crashing behind, or no?
It sounds like the truck or the semi drove into all of the cars, so everything took place out in front of it.
Okay. And do we know how long before then the fire started and then the fire spread?
No.
It spread to other cars, right?
Correct, that is correct. But I haven't heard a time frame of how long before the fire really ignited.
Is the working theory that the other school bus accident that shut down I-70 for a time may have played a role?
That I don't know. I mean, 450, as we all know, traffic's pretty thick on I-70 as is, and I haven't heard anything about a previous crash down the road that would have caused any of this.
Did the driver of the truck, the dog, get out?
Get out?
Yeah, did he make it out alive? Or?
I don't know. That's what we were just talking about. I don't know the exact of who was injured compared to the fatality part. We're still piecing all those together.
What are they doing right now over there? Because I know it's on the other side of that bridge, right?
Yeah, the main part of this investigation starts at the bridge and then goes east from there. Right now, it's still just making the scene safe. It's more of an active fire right now than it is an accident investigation. Obviously, for the folks working, the first responders, it's a matter of being safe before we can get in there and really start putting together what took place and when.
Do you guys have a loose head count on maybe how many people went to the hospital? I know you don't know everything.
I don't at this point.
I can't imagine that this is going to open anytime soon?
No, this will be several hours that at least eastbound I-70 will be closed.
And can you tell us about the bridge? We saw the flames coming up on the bridge. Is the bridge safe or is it being inspected?
I can guarantee CDOT, Department of Transportation, is looking at that. I've seen their vehicles around, so yes, I'm sure that's being evaluated before we go any further there.
Can you talk about the emergency response? I mean, it seems like folks from all over are here. Who exactly responded to the smoke?
Well, West Metro Fire, obviously for the fire part of it. We have State Patrol. We have Jefferson County Sheriff's Department. We have City of Lakewood Police Department. I don't know if Golden PD is here. Their boundaries are real close to this, but and with CDOT responding. So there was a very active response. Given this stretch of I-70 really comes in and out of jurisdictions. At some points it's State Patrols, at some point it's Lakewood, then we get into Wheat Ridge farther north, and then Arvada, and from there. So that's the reason for the big response. One, because it's a very serious accident. Two, because of the location, it gets a response from all of us so we can continue with the investigation that way.
Will you hold another one of these tonight?
Yes, as we get updates, we'll start doing more updates that way. Right now, this is very basic in the start of the investigation, so there's a long ways to go with this.
And is the fire out now?
I have not been told yes or no to that. I haven't talked to anybody from West Metro yet.
And it just seems like a lot of people, even bystanders, helped. We've been talking to a lot of eyewitnesses.
What an absolute nightmare. A stretch of road that all of us have driven, I-70 eastbound through Lakewood there, and it sounds like a semi coming down the hill had brake failure or some other mechanical issues and plowed into slow or stopped traffic. That then sparked the fire. The vehicles piled up behind, at least 12 cars and 3 semis, and Lakewood police telling us for the first time that at least one person lost their life in this crash and fire today. Several more people went to the hospital. We will continue to keep tabs on this situation, keep you updated on the efforts to get that road and bridge inspected and back open when Next continues.
We had 12 cars involved and 3 semis. And that number may change too as, like I said, the scene becomes safe and we can get in and start looking a little bit closer.
Any idea how fast the semi was going, that he ran into 12 cars and 2 other semis?
No, at this time, no idea on speed.
Do you have any idea where that semi was coming from and heading to?
No, I know very little about the semi or actually any of the 15 vehicles involved.
Okay.
Considering it's a commercial vehicle, the truck, is there a special agency that's going to get involved with that?
Colorado State Patrol is helping us with their motor carrier safety unit. They will certainly come out and help us with that part of the investigation. And we work very well with them and them with us, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Thank you.
Give us that name and position, please.
Yes, name is Ty, T-Y. Last name is Countryman, and I'm an agent with Lakewood Police Department.
Thank you.
We good for right now? All right. I'll let you.
Find which one's mine here.
Yeah.
This one's mine.
That one yours, all right. And then,
That's Doherty?
Got it.
oh, hold on, we're clipped underneath there.
It's going to start unclipping everybody.
Yeah.
That way you can walk away.
No, well, we're all good. No worries.
Thanks, Ty.
You bet.
I think that one's us right here, the big fluffy one.
Do another one for you.
I don't know.
Long
Let me
time
get
no
with,
see, by
yeah,
the
I
way.
know.
How's it going?
Good. Not sure who this is. There it is.
I can hear you. Yes, hang on. I'm trying to get unhooked.
Thank you.
And then rehooked.
Yeah, I'm not
Ooh,
quite
I'm gonna
sure.
stand right here for.
Okay. Let's watch your footing.
Yeah.
Well, I turned my lav on.
We don't want that. You can't have both of them on at the same time.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? I just gotta be able to talk to them right now.
You can't do it. It's going to be bad audio. Just use this. Turn that off.
We're trying, but like everybody's calling us, and like Misty keeps wanting us to do Facebook Lives and stuff.